Welcome, everybody. We'll be getting started in just a moment. We're just waiting for everybody to get their places. In the meantime, you are welcome to attach to interpretation to enjoy the meeting.
Hello, and welcome to our virtual community meeting. To choose whether you'd like to listen in English or Spanish, please click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and select your preferred language option. Hola y bienvenidos a nuestra reunión virtual. Para elegir si desea escuchar en inglés o en español, haga clic en el botón Interpretación en la parte inferior de la pantalla y seleccione el idioma que prefiera. If you'd like to follow along with a Spanish translated slide deck, please visit projectconnect.com/get-involved. We're also placing the link directly to the PDFs into the chat box for this meeting. Si desea seguir junto con una presentación traducida en español, visite projectconnect.com/get-involved. También colocamos en el cuadro de chat el enlace directamente al PDF para esta reunión. We also have live closed captioning available in English. You can turn on this feature by clicking the CC button in the Zoom meeting toolbar, which is located in the bottom middle of your screen. Thanks again for joining us today for today's virtual presentation and breakout group discussions. We have a lot to share and discuss today, so let's get started. I'm Jackie Nierenberg, and I'm joined today by Lonnie Stern, who is managing our events this week. In addition, we have several other speakers today who will be introduced when it's their turn to speak. The first part of the meeting will be presentation style, with an opportunity for us to share information with you. Then we'll move to breakout sessions designed to hear from you. If you're watching this meeting on social and would like to participate in a breakout session after the initial presentation, please stay tuned and we'll share the link by the end of this broadcast. For now, all participants are muted, and we ask that you submit any questions or comments via the Q&A feature in the bottom center of your screen. If you don't see it immediately, try hovering in the bottom middle of your screen and it should appear. Your questions and comments will be received by our moderator and may be addressed at the end of the presentation or added to the discussion agenda. If you're watching on social media, please submit any questions or comments in the chat feature. Finally, I want to mention that these materials are available online through a self-guided version of this meeting. You can access those materials and provide your feedback on what we'll be discussing in the breakout groups by going to projectconnect.com/get-involved. We'll put the link directly in the chat. With that, let's get to the video.
Project Connect is all in on building a comprehensive transit system that will transform us into one of the most sustainable, equitable, and innovative metropolitan areas in the country. A place where we can all share in the many opportunities our region offers. All in on transforming us into a more connected region. With new rail lines stretching across our city, going under busy, bustling streets, and serving communities citywide. Plus, a more accessible bus system to more frequently connect neighborhoods than ever before. But Project Connect is more than just the vans, buses, and trains helping us get around easier. It's built upon our values, opportunity and equity, environment and sustainability, and innovation and technology. A truly comprehensive transit system can connect people to opportunities. Project Connect will help create thousands of good local jobs and provide more access to healthcare, education, employment, essential services, entertainment, and will also create and maintain more affordable places to live. It's designed to help us all move toward a future without limits. There's a shared passion in our community for the environment. That's why a commitment to the environment and sustainable practices are core to Project Connect. We envision a zero-emission fleet, and we will lean into the challenge to conserve and protect natural resources in the decisions we make. Technology and innovation inspire much of who we are as a region. Project Connect will embrace that spirit, making transportation smarter, more efficient, enjoyable, and easier to use. This place belongs to every single one of us, those of us who live here now and those of us who will live here in the future. Project Connect was designed to let us all share in the many things our area has to offer: jobs, education, relationships, entertainment, family. We're all eager to connect on every level. Project Connect is all in for bringing us together in ways we hoped for, dreamed of, needed. Come see how you can be a part of it.
Project Connect is moving forward in so many exciting ways. Before we jump into the Orange Line presentation, we'd like to share some program-wide updates with you. Project Connect is a transit plan designed for Austin. It's not just one project or type of service like rail or bus. It's an interconnected system that will bring a number of firsts to Austin, including light rail service, a subway, expanded bus service and an all-electric fleet, more on-demand circulator routes, and new park and rides to provide more connections into the larger transit system. Before we talk more about Project Connect, though, let's take a quick look at the history of planning and transit in Austin. This is the 1839 Waller Plan for Austin. It places the streets in a clear grid pattern, radiating east and west from the central spine and civic axis of Congress Avenue. The plan was fairly advanced for its time. Notice that it includes significant room for public spaces, including 4 planned green spaces, 3 of which are still here today. It also ties the city to the natural environmental features like the Colorado River and what we now know as Lady Bird Lake. So what does the Waller Plan have to do with Project Connect? Project Connect is not only an opportunity to invest in mobility, it's also an opportunity to create great public spaces. It's a chance to reinforce the public realm in all neighborhoods across the city. One thing we also have to remember is that Austin has a robust history of transit. In fact, transit was an integral part of planning in the early 20th century in Austin. Did you know, for example, that there were 3 intercity passenger rail lines in Austin? They traveled along 3rd, 4th, and 5th streets. There were also 2 great stations located right on Congress Avenue, making it the preeminent transportation center of the region. Streetcars were also part of Austin in the early 20th century. From 1891 to 1940, a system of 10 streetcar lines branched out to all parts of the growing city from its hub on Congress Avenue. We have the opportunity to build upon some of the positive planning decisions we've made in our history, but we must also acknowledge and learn from the mistakes of our past. In 1928, Austin developed a master plan that forcibly moved people of color to East Austin. The repercussions of that infamous plan are still very real. Public transportation has also played a role in perpetuating those inequities. But now we have a unique opportunity to leverage public transportation to make lasting change. Project Connect will be an inclusive and transformative program that will help address these long-standing inequities by connecting people to jobs, education, healthcare, and each other. As we work together to build a transit system that will serve all Austinites, we want to learn from the mistakes of the past and create a city that makes people feel welcomed, respected, and comfortable. Project Connect is a way for us to reimagine transit as inclusive and equitable. The program will add facilities that will be accessible by all. We imagine spaces that feel hospitable, welcoming, and inclusive, a city with a transit system that people can be proud of. And this is an opportunity to reimagine our public spaces. The program will add transit facilities as well as space for drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians. The program will also aim to protect existing trees and add more where possible. This image shows the sequence plan for the overall program. As you can see, we're in our first year and working on most of the projects already in the program, including the orange and blue lines, our 2 light rail lines. The program also includes enhancements to the red line, additional Metro Rapid lines, improved Metro Express and Metro Bus services, and additional park and rides. Since Proposition A passed in November of 2020, we have reached multiple milestones for the program. As you can see, there are just too many to name here, but here are some of the highlights. We established the Austin Transit Partnership, or ATP, which is a partnership between CAT Metro and the City of Austin to implement Project Connect. The team continues to work on planning the new McCalla station, including additional bus infrastructure. Work on the new Broadmoor station has also begun, and improvements are being made to increase capacity and frequency on the red line. 2 new Metro Rapid lines, the Expo line and the Pleasant Valley line, were included in President Biden's fiscal year 2022 budget request to Congress. The request proposed a total of $36.1 million combined for the lines. The team will be back to the community in the fall to get your feedback on the next 2 Metro Rapid lines to move forward, which are the Burnett to Menchaca and Oak Hill line and the Gold line. The conceptual engineering, or 15% design, for the orange and blue lines is complete. And today we'll be showing you the design plans for both of the lines. We've met with the community as part of new working groups, and we've had 2 sets of public meetings to get your feedback on how the orange and blue lines can best fit into our community. We're excited to continue that dialogue with you today. Environmental work is also underway. We're continuing to add more pickup zones. That's our neighborhood circulator service. The latest to come online is the new Menchaca service, with the Oak Hill zone to follow later this month. And ATP continues to coordinate with the City of Austin on transit, roadway, and bicycle and pedestrian facilities for both lines. We're also coordinating closely with our other partner agencies. Today, we're here to talk with you about a program that will help transform our city. The projects in this program do come with trade-offs, though. We'll be retrofitting our city to accommodate new transit opportunities in each section of the corridors, and that's no easy feat. We need your help. Today's meeting will include breakout sessions to communicate about the project at the neighborhood level. We hope that you'll give us your input and let us know what you think. We're working together to do this right, and right isn't always easy. But remember, we're all in this together. From here, I'd like to pass this on to Jerry Smiley, who will be giving us the overview of the orange line.
Thank you very much, Jackie. So good evening. My name is Jerry Smiley. I'm the project manager for the consulting team, AECOM, who's working on the orange line. And I'm joined today for this presentation by several members of the orange line project team. So we want to thank you again for participating in this evening's meeting. So here's the agenda for our presentation. We'll start by reviewing the project background and describe where we are in the planning process. Then we'll explain some of the light rail design considerations that have gone into the current project's conceptual design. And we'll also walk you through the project's alignment from downtown to the north end of the project at Tech Ridge. In our meetings last week, we did walk through the entire project from end to end. This week, we're going to only walk through the half of the project in each of these separate meetings, the north meeting and the south meetings. So we can save more time for discussion in the breakout sessions afterwards. So we'll review the southern half of the project along with the southern breakout sessions on the Thursday meeting on August 5th at 11:30. And we'll put the link to register for that meeting in the Q&A now. So the presentation will conclude with a recap of the environmental analysis process and the next steps for the project. And after this overview presentation, you'll have the opportunity to participate in a breakout session. organized by the geographic areas. And you'll just click on a link to move into that breakout room. Lonnie will have more information on that for you later. And then from there, you can just choose that breakout room that's right for you. So let's get started with a little refresher on the project. The project, the Orange Line project is defined as light rail transit operating in a dedicated transit way from Tech Ridge Park and Ride on the north end of the corridor to just north of Slaughter Lane on the south end of the corridor. Up to 22 stations are proposed along the route, and service would operate approximately every 10 minutes. So given the recent trends in federal grant funding, the funding approved by City of Austin voters would provide the local match to build an initial investment in the Orange Line from Stasny Lane all the way to North Lamar Transit Center. However, the project team is clearing the entire corridor from Slaughter Lane to Tech Ridge Park and Ride through the federal NEPA process. That's the National Environmental Policy Act. In the event that additional federal or other kinds of funding become available to expedite the construction of the full corridor. So as part of the initial investment, the northern and the southern ends of the project will continue to be served by rapid bus. So this graphic is designed to represent the entire project life cycle with a focus on the phase we're in now, indicated by that shaded box. So prior to this phase, as shown, the orange and the blue line locally preferred alternatives were unanimously adopted by Capital Metro Board of Directors and endorsed by the City Council on June 10th, 2020. In November 2020, the City of Austin voters approved an 8.75-cent tax increase to help fund the next phase of implementation for the system plan, which includes both the orange and the blue lines, and allowed us to enter into the phase we are in now, the environmental phase. So earlier this year, we shared some information about the community on this NEPA scoping process for both projects and explained what to expect over the next few years. We're now moving into the next phase of the environmental or NEPA process, which includes the development of the draft environmental impact statement. After this phase is complete, we can move into final design and then construction and eventually testing and operation. An important aspect highlighted in this graphic is that public engagement will be conducted throughout this project and this phase of the project and future phases of the project. For more information on the NEPA process, you can access materials developed for our scoping phase at projectconnect.com. Visit the Get Involved page and then scroll to the bottom and look at previous virtual meetings. So there are 4 corridor design milestones that mark our progress on the project. At the same time as the environmental process is underway, the engineering team is working on the preliminary design plans for the project. The environmental analysis and the preliminary engineering influence one another as we work towards a final environmental impact statement and the final 30% design plans. So you can see, based on that graphic, we are in the top part of that, and we're in the earliest part of that graphic at the top where it says 15% design. The 30% design will be complete sometime in the spring of 2022. So a little bit more detail on the 15% design. It includes a lot of elements, initial engineering alignments, the estimated right-of-way, identification of significant engineering and environmental challenges. And during today's presentation, we're going to share the light rail design elements and criteria that inform the project's design. We'll also discuss the constraints and considerations that have gone into determining options for solving these complex engineering challenges. And these considerations and the community's input on the project design, including station design and amenities, are going to be used to refine these engineering plans as we progress. As part of the 15% design process, we'll also analyze traffic impacts, develop initial estimates for things like service frequency and ridership, and more information on all of these items, as well as the analysis of potential environmental impacts and any mitigation strategies if necessary. Those are going to be shared with you in the months ahead. So to recap some of our recent engineering, environmental, and public engagement efforts, we've conducted right-of-way and utility surveys, We have coordinated with the city of Austin on planned roadway, bike, and ped facilities and future development projects. We've also initiated archaeological, environmental, and historic resources field investigations. We held 2 rounds of public meetings, including the scoping meetings that I mentioned, that were held between January and March. And then we conducted some station alignment meetings that were held in April and May of this year. So this community input really helps us understand your concerns and desires as we continue to design the project. More details about the community engagement and input that have been gathered so far is on the Project Connect website. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Kimmy, who's going to go into more detail about the light rail design elements that have informed our 15% design.
Excellent. Thank you, Jerry. This image here on the screen illustrates the common elements of a street right-of-way that incorporates a light rail, transitway, and station, with other elements such as travel lanes for cars, street trees, bike paths, and sidewalks. Because there is limited space for transportation in the existing right-of-way, we must reimagine the right-of-way and consider the trade-offs for prioritizing the use of the space, and then determine if we need to acquire more space while minimizing the impacts. When we say reimagine the right-of-way, what we mean is that we can work to include safe pedestrian facilities, trees, dedicated space for cyclists, to prioritize connections to local bus routes, and to identify opportunities for public art. It's important to note that everywhere the light rail system will go and travel throughout the city, we're also looking to see how we can improve the physical fabric of the city in kind of a holistic way. We do take this holistic, human-centered design approach to the light rail system. A number of criteria have influenced the design of a light rail system. This includes the technical requirements of the light rail transit, such as the space that is needed for a transitway, which is typically 28 feet wide, as well as the space needed for station platforms and the turning radius of vehicles and more. In addition, the Austin Strategic Mobility Plan, or colloquially known as ASMP, provides the criteria for accommodating Austin's multimodal transportation network, which includes bicycle and pedestrian facilities and travel lanes for cars and buses. Each of these facilities has a desired and a minimum width and placement within the right-of-way. Light rail has to meet specific design criteria. Additionally, floodplains, utility conflicts, historical properties, parks and recreation space, and other aspects of the physical environment can guide the design. At this phase, the engineering team is assessing all of these factors to determine where and how the light rail lines could operate within the existing physical environment. Each of these factors, as well as community feedback on specific local issues and needs, goes into the development of the design plans. In these next few slides, we'll review the light rail technical requirements to demonstrate some of the constraints we are working within as we design the project. In addition, we'll talk about how light rail vehicles travel through intersections and the considerations that go into selecting station locations. So for light rail basics, this is the incline. The maximum grade that a transitway can navigate without costly engineering solutions is approximately a 6% slope. Similarly, stations should not be located on an incline, but instead should be on flat land in order to accommodate all users as they board and depart the train. On this slide is curves. The maximum and minimum curve radius does vary based on a number of different factors. The light rail vehicles cannot make hard turns. Rather, the vehicles require wide and sweeping turns to operate efficiently. Similarly, in order for the train doors to align with the station platform, a train must be in a straight line to provide safety and accessibility for riders. Light rail at intersections. Operation of the transitway also requires that other vehicles turn at signalized intersections rather than crossing the transitway. This slide illustrates an example of how a car might make a left-hand turn on an existing roadway without light rail by turning left directly across travel lanes. With a light rail transitway, the auto traffic would need to go to the intersection to make a U-turn and come back to access the driveway of their destination. Continuing on with intersections, this image on the right is the same one from the previous slide, which shows how a vehicle turns while the light rail vehicle is stopped at the intersection. During this time, vehicles that are turning and crossing the transitway will be able to do so. The left-hand image shows the light rail vehicles traveling straight through the intersection along with the vehicles that are traveling straight. Light rail vehicles will be given priority treatment at intersections to ensure travel times are faster and more reliable. At stations, much of our work in selecting station locations was conducted in earlier phases, but this slide provides a helpful high-level summary of how we evaluated where to locate a station along a corridor. Stations should maximize connections to the existing transit network, ideally providing stations that can be used by multiple bus routes or local light rail routes. They should balance speed and access with stop spacing, meaning that when we zoom out from the station to see the radius of the area that a passenger could reasonably access on foot or on a bike, we are looking for a balance in that coverage. Our goal is to minimize overlap in lower density areas, while at the same time minimizing gaps in coverage. In higher density areas, we may want more overlap between coverage areas to serve the most users conveniently. And finally, we want to serve high population and high activity areas, meaning stations would ideally be located close enough to the places people want to go. So once they arrive at the station, they can walk or bike to their final destination with relative ease. Uh, it's sometimes challenging to imagine how all of this will come together, so we wanted to share some example images of how these elements look in other communities. Here, the left and center image provide examples of how a street level transitway might look. This image on the right also shows an elevated transitway. On this slide, we are showing images of how a transitway might look as it goes into or comes out of an underground tunnel or subway, and these structures are referred to as portals. Here on this slide, we show some example images of light rail stations from other communities. The image on the left shows a street level station in downtown Minneapolis, and the center image shows an elevated station in Dallas. The image on the right shows an underground station in Seattle. So now that we've covered the basics of the engineering process and requirements, we'll talk about the Orange Line specifically and how we've applied those basics to the project's 15% design. The LPA, or the locally preferred alternative, that we shared with the community in June of 2020 was a combination of the mode, which is light rail, the transitway, which provides dedicated space for transit, and the vertical profile. We shared the profile you see here as part of the earlier design phase for the project. Since then, we've had some changes, so we wanted to update you on some of the more significant design advances that have been made since the adoption of the LPA to provide a better overall picture of what the Orange Line design looks like today. For now, an overview, working from the south through Old Torf, the vertical profile being shown today is the same as shown previously. We still have multiple configuration options for both the transitway and station at SoCo, but we're also proposing a subway from Auditorium Shores to Government Center and Capitol West, meaning that the project would tunnel under Lady Bird Lake. This tunnel was formerly shown ending north of Lady Bird Lake. There's still some options under consideration for the exact location of the tunnel's end or north and south portal. We are proposing a street level transitway between UT West Mall and Crestview Station. And we are now proposing an elevated station at Crestview and an elevated transitway crossing I-35 between Parmer and Tech Ridge. These are both elevated primarily to avoid conflicts with other transportation facilities. On this slide, you'll also notice some icons that we've incorporated throughout the next set of slides. The rectangle with the word bus indicates that the station provides connections to local bus routes. The circle with the letter P inside indicates that we are currently proposing a park and ride at that station. A clear circle with a gold outline and the letter G indicates that that station provides a connection to the future gold line. A blue circle with the letter B inside indicates that the station provides a connection to the blue line, and which is another light rail line in the initial investment. A clear circle with a purple outline and the letter M inside indicates that the station provides a connection to a Metro Rapid route, and a red square with the letter R inside indicates that the station provides a connection to the red line. Finally, a green square with the letter G inside indicates that the station provides a connection to the green line. As you can see, though we are focused on the orange line in this presentation, we are considering how the orange line would connect to other services within the existing and future transit system. These icons are carried forward throughout the rest of the next slides to help you understand how this project connects to the Project Connect system. Over the next group of slides, we will be walking through a series of aerial views from the north half of the Orange Line project, and we will call out specific aspects of the project we want to bring to your attention. After that, we will break out into the working group sessions where we will walk through the actual engineering plans and pause as needed to explain specific aspects of the project and answer any questions. So now I will turn it over to you, Christina, for the walkthrough of the North Corridor.
Thanks, Kimmy. The Republic Square station will be underground in the vicinity of 4th Street. This is also where the orange and blue lines will connect. The Government Center, Capitol West Station, will also be underground. So before we get started, let's do a quick orientation to the layout of the next group of slides. In the top left, you'll see the station or area we are focusing on. In the top right, you'll see a list of numbers and notes. When you look at the center aerial image, you'll see that there are also numbers. The number on the image matches to a corresponding note on the right side of the page. Additionally, on most of the aerial images, you'll see green arrows at each of the station platforms. These green arrows indicate how pedestrians would access the station platform. Below the notes, you'll see a cross-section diagram. This corresponds to the matching letter on the aerial image. This is an engineering concept used to show what the right-of-way would look like if you crossed it at a particular location. For these cross sections, orange indicates light rail tracks and stations. Green indicates the pedestrian and bicycle facilities, generally with the tree and furniture zone between them. Gray indicates the general purpose lanes or lanes used for cars, buses, or truck through and turning traffic. Finally, across the bottom of the slide, you can see the full Orange Line project to better illustrate what area of the project we are looking at. Now, to discuss this slide specifically. We anticipate providing roadway improvements in the area north of 3rd Street and north of 6th Street, even though the transitway is underground in this area. This is because we are currently proposing a cut and cover tunnel rather than a bored tunnel for construction only. So the roadway would be rebuilt as part of construction. We are currently proposing a minimum of 3 pedestrian entrances, including a signature entrance just to the north of 4th Street on the west side of Guadalupe. There are 3 options for the Government Center station location that are still being evaluated. These options will be discussed in the Downtown Working Group breakout session following this presentation. The North Portal is where light rail vehicles headed south will enter the subway and vehicles headed north will exit the subway. The option shown proposes the North Portal located north of MLK Boulevard. An additional option would place the North Portal south of MLK Boulevard between 16th and 18th Streets. These options will also be discussed in the Downtown Working Group breakout session following this presentation. The UT West Mall 24th Street station has the highest pedestrian activity in the corridor, and the platforms will be located in proximity to the West Campus entrance on the drag. Hemp Hill Park, another high pedestrian activity station, would likely be between 27th and 29th Streets. Reconfiguring the existing Nueces, North Guadalupe, and 29th Streets is critical to improving mobility throughout the West Campus area. There are 3 operational configuration options in the drag area, but all of the options have the UT West Mall station as a center platform in the same general area shown in this image. Pedestrian access would be provided on both sides of the platform, though you can only see one side in this view. It's important to note that all options also include some reduction of vehicle travel lanes through the drag area. These options will be discussed in the drag working group breakout session following this presentation. The operational configuration options in the drag area extend through the Hemp Hill Park station area shown on this slide. Due to the anticipated vehicle traffic lane reductions on Guadalupe, a new connection from Dean Keaton to San Antonio is required. This image shows the proposed center-aligned Hemp Hill Park station. Additionally, we are proposing to reconfigure the 29th and Guadalupe intersection to improve safety and access. Nueces is one-way today, but the City of Austin plans to change the operation of this street to two-way. The reconfiguration of this intersection in conjunction with the Orange Line Guideway will work better for two-way traffic on Nueces, as well as providing a much safer crossing than the current intersection. This slide is an excellent example of station spacing for a moderately dense area. The Hyde Park station is proposed in the area of the 38th Street intersection. The Triangle station is proposed within the heart of the Triangle development area. We recognize the importance of maintaining the community character in this area. At the same time, the right-of-way in this area is very constrained. We are coordinating with Austin State Hospital leadership to leverage some of their property. Austin State Hospital has historical significance, and we are working with the Texas Historic Commission to maintain those elements. We also recognize that several of the businesses on the east side are also historic structures. A center platform in the heart of the Triangle area is proposed. We provide one lane of through traffic throughout this area, and the inside lane will be for left turns at signalized intersections. As the guideway transitions to North Lamar, two vehicular lanes will be maintained adjacent to the newly developed state-owned facilities. The Koenig station would be located in the vicinity of the Koenig intersection. The Crestview area will connect multiple types of transit. The North Lamar Transit Center exists today but would be expanded as part of this project. This is the northern end of the initial project investment. The existing right-of-way is extremely constrained in this area, including the entire length of North Lamar from the Triangle to Airport Boulevard, which is north of this image. Because of this, we are showing full bicycle and pedestrian facilities in this area, but the tree furniture zone varies based on the right-of-way constraints and minimizing impacts to structures. The tracks are at grade and running in the center in this area. The center platform, Koenig Station, is located south of the intersection. The Crestview area will be a very special place as it will connect the Orange Line, Red Line, local bus routes, and improved bicycle and pedestrian facilities. As such, there is significant opportunity to improve North Lamar and Airport Boulevard traffic flow, as well as create a signature station that creates a more walkable area. The current proposal is to depress the Red Line beneath North Lamar. The Freight Line, which only operates late at night, will remain at grade. The Orange Line will be elevated above the Freight Line, and the Crestview station will be elevated. There may be opportunities for transit-oriented development in this area, and redeveloping the area for connectivity will be key as we progress the design. It's important to note here that this design is very preliminary, and we are still exploring design options in this area. The tracks would be located in the center of the main travel lanes of Lamar through the 183 intersection. The North Lamar Transit Center, or NLTC, will serve as the initial terminus for the project and will take advantage of the existing NLTC park and ride. The station will be located in the middle of North Lamar. A new pedestrian bridge will connect the station to both NLTC and the community to the east. Several designs for the pedestrian bridge are under consideration, and we'll be prepared to discuss these designs next year. As density decreases, the distance between stations increases. Since this is part of the corridor will be implemented in the future, in the interim, these areas will continue to be served by the 801 Metro Rapid, where they will tie into the North Lamar Transit Center. The Tech Ridge Park and Ride will also be connected to I-35. In this area, we are proposing to add some signalized intersections. Additional signalized intersections would also increase bike-ped connectivity. The Runberg station is shown as a split platform station. In this area, the transitway is located in the center of the existing roadway, and we anticipate providing full bicycle and pedestrian facilities with a full tree furniture zone. While the right-of-way in these areas is relatively wide, slivers of right-of-way will be needed in the areas where there are left turn lanes. The breaker station is in the vicinity of Chinatown and is currently shown as a split platform to the north and south of the breaker intersection. In the area of the proposed Parmer station, the tracks would be at street level. The Parmer station is proposed as a split platform to the north and south of Parmer Lane. Full and separate bicycle and pedestrian facilities are shown in this area as well. Traveling north, the tracks begin to gain elevation to cross over I-35. The Tech Ridge Park and Ride station will be further designed in the future. For now, the station is located in the area south of the bus loading zone, but this could all be reconfigured. It is critical that the guideway line up to cross over I-35 to hit Center Ridge Drive on the other side because TxDOT is proposing to connect the managed lanes of I-35 to the Tech Ridge Park and Ride. It's important to note here that this design is very preliminary and we are still exploring design options in this area. With that, I'll turn it over to Abby to wrap up.
Thanks, Christina. In addition to the details that we just shared about the concept design, we wanted to provide a brief review of the environmental process that's currently underway. We talked a lot about this process during the scoping round of public meetings in January, and you can see those materials at projectconnect.com. An important part of this phase of the project is to identify and evaluate the potential effects the project may have on the physical, natural, human, and cultural environments. During this process, we gather information about places and resources, both from the community and through various methods of data collection. We then analyze the environmental, social, and economic impacts of the project and share those findings with the community for feedback. This helps us understand your concerns and to identify mitigation strategies so that we can better inform the decision-making process. On this slide, we've listed the environmental topics to be analyzed in the environmental impact statement that we're working on. Some of these are self-explanatory, but some are a little less so, so we wanted to provide some additional details. Energy refers to the analysis of construction and operational energy requirements and the potential for energy savings. Noise and vibration refers to the evaluation of the noise and vibration caused by a transit system on nearby residences and other sensitive land use types, including schools, hospitals, concert halls, recording studios, and places of worship, among others. Environmental justice refers to the study of potential disproportionately high and adverse effects on low income and minority populations. And finally, visual and aesthetic refers to the evaluation of how the project is seen by both users and neighbors. We do want to hear more about what topic areas are important to you and any concerns or feedback you may have about the environmental topics that we've shared. You can provide comments as part of the self-guided virtual open house that's online at projectconnect.com or in the breakout rooms after this presentation. We wanted to give you a little bit more information about what's coming next. These are some of the key milestones for the project. Looking ahead to next spring, we will come back with 30% design plans and complete our evaluation for the draft environmental impact statement. In summer 2022, we will complete the draft environmental impact statement documentation and the 30% comment phase, and then submit the project for an initial rating from the Federal Transit Administration, or the FTA. In winter of 2022, we anticipate the completion of the final environmental impact statement, as well as receipt of a record of decision from the FTA. All of the information that we shared today and the feedback questions we'll discuss in the breakout rooms are available online at projectconnect.com. Please share the word with your friends, neighbors, and colleagues so that they can visit the website to review materials and provide feedback. We also have one more live virtual meeting this week. That'll be on Thursday at 11:30 a.m. And we'll be covering the southern end of the project. Feedback received by the project team on or before August 27th, 2021 will be included in the official summary report for this phase of outreach. In addition to providing feedback during this meeting, you can visit the virtual open house at projectconnect.com, send us an email at orangeline@capmetro.org. You can mail us a comment to Capital Metro at 607 Congress Avenue, Austin, Texas, 78701. or you can call our project hotline. The number of that hotline is 512-369-7703. Again, all the information we shared today and our community survey is available online at projectconnect.com. Community input has been and will continue to be a critical part of the project development process. And the Orange Line will have new information to share with the community for feedback regularly throughout the next several years. Stay up to date on project developments by joining our email list. You can visit projectconnect.com to subscribe to that newsletter. You can follow Cat Metro on Twitter at CatMetroATX, or you can like Cat Metro on Facebook at facebook.com/CapitalMetro. Well, this marks the end of our presentation. We hope you'll move with us to the breakout session to provide feedback. To do that, please click the link provided in this chat.
The recording has stopped.
Whether you're in Zoom or watching our live stream through Facebook or another platform. Once you click that link, you'll be briefly put into a breakout session waiting room. And within a minute or two, you'll be invited to join the breakout session that most interests you. So again, to join us in the breakout sessions, we hope you will. Please click the link provided in the chat in Zoom or in Facebook or other live streaming services. When you click that link, you'll be moved into a breakout session waiting room where we'll kind of go over how the breakout sessions will work. And then within a minute or two after that, you'll be invited to join the breakout session that most interests you. I am going to go ahead and join those breakout sessions now. So see you on the other side.